when I first started gardening, things were they were bad already, but they weren't like this bad. And it just gets frustrating. Like it gets old after time because it feels like everything being sold right now is a scam. Feels like everything being sold right now can't be trusted. It shouldn't be so difficult to just go and get soil and just like plant a garden. And you want to believe it's on accident, right? Like we all want to just believe that it's totally accidental, that they are bringing home, manure, and it turns out it has grazon poisoning in it, ruining entire batches of seedlings. And, it's just sad. It's sad that we have to be that vigilant and that aware of what we're buying because there's so many products on the market. It just feels like there should be more trust there. And I get frustrated about that sometimes because the whole reason people are trying to grow food is because they can't afford food right now. People aren't just taking up gardening because they're like, wow, life is depressing. Grocery prices are up a lot. They're saying some places that it could be 30%. I am noticing items that are more expensive every week, and that is so frustrating and infuriating already. So, the fact that we also have to worry about soil that we import onto our property, fertilizers that we're using that could end up poisoning our plants, seeds that don't even germinate half the time, and then you've got the whole thing with trying to find a safe insect killer. It sometimes does feel like the whole world is against you. And that's why I like this channel, is because I like talking to you about things that gardeners go through. So let's get into it. I'm here to talk to you today about something very important, okay? I am seeing a bunch of pictures come up in my feed with soil that looks like this, and this is not okay. Your hard earned money has bought you soil that is basically dead. So let's talk about it. I'm going to give you 4 solutions, and I'm going to tell you what I think you should do about it. First thing not to do is panic. Your plants can sense fear. I'm just kidding. No, that's not what it is. Let's talk about why this happens. When you buy soil that is in a bag, lately my soil quality the last few years that we've been buying has significantly decreased. So I am noticing bigger chunks of wood chips in the soil. It used to just be like powdery and nice, and now it is full of chunks and it's just really poor growing medium. So I'm going to talk to you about how I fixed my soil quality. Let's get into it. When you have too much bark and too much wood chips inside of the soil, it creates this difficult problem for your plants where all of the nitrogen is going towards trying to break down these bigger chunks inside of the soil. And so your plants will look starved. They will look like they're starved of nitrogen, even if you're fertilizing. So, I've got some solutions here for you. The first thing you're going to do is if you have big chunks sitting in your garden beds, pick those out, please. Do me a favor, get rid of those. They're not growing media. For the most part, your soil for your garden beds should not be full of chunks. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to get your soil tested. I want you to go into your local agricultural extension and I want you to find out, give them a call, how to drop your soil off for testing. My agricultural extension makes it really easy. They partner with some of the garden stores and they even have soil dropping off stations inside of some of the garden stores, which is so nice. So go ahead and get your soil tested. It's going to tell you what nutrients you need to add specifically and what the pH of your soil is. Part of this is a pH problem. And so you're going to want to do that. Take advantage of that resource in your community. And especially if you're a first time gardener, there are just nutrients that you don't know about yet. So please use that resource. The next thing you're going to do is if you do not have a compost, you are going to start a compost. Um, this is going to be a good way for you to prevent having to buy more soil amendments in the future. It's going to save you a lot of money. You want to be composting all of your scraps, please utilize them. It's going to help keep you from having to import a lot more soil onto your property. You're going to get a good mixture of the greens and the browns. Recycle your food scraps, no dairy, no meat, just the vegetable trimmings, extra cardboard pieces, grass clippings, There's a lot of good articles on it, but get into composting because that is going to save you in the future from needing to buy a ton more soil amendments. The next thing you're going to do is you are going to slowly start changing out the soil that came from those bags into your homemade compost. That is going to help kind of bring your soil to life. One of the bigger problems with this bagged soil is that a lot of it is completely dead. Not only does it have no nutrients in it, it has no microbes, like nothing is living about it. And a lot of these bagged soils, when you put them in the ground and you plant, there won't even be any mushrooms growing out of it. You can just tell that it is absolutely dead and void of any nutrients. So, finally, to save your plants and to make sure that they live and, continue this gardening season, in addition to these things I've told you to do, I want you to find a slow release soil amendment fertilizer. So I'm talking things like worm castings, fish emulsion, there are all kinds of slow release fertilizers that are not going to burn your plants and stress them out even further. The last thing you want to do is use a really strong fertilizer at this time. You want something calm, gentle, and that's not going to disturb the roots of your plants, because part of the reason that this problem right here is happening is because the roots can be suffocating. They're already struggling to get enough air under all this wood and these dense materials. And so help them out, give them a slow release fertilizer, and you should see some life return to your garden beds. Keep amending your soil, and in a few years, it will likely be perfectly fine, very nice to grow in, especially if you compost. Hey there, this is future Allison. I am splicing myself into my video that I had already made and I was gonna release today, but I had a super enlightening conversation with somebody in this space, and I just wanted to include the notes that I took from this conversation. So I ended up calling my county extension for the agricultural department just because I already had another question. But what was really bothering me was the soil issue. And so, anyways, I was chatting with somebody that has a degree in this, and they were just kind of explaining, breaking this issue down for me. So, thank you, Maddox, from my county extension. I really appreciate your time. And I know the people that watch this video are going to find this really helpful. So, it's always just nice to talk to somebody smarter than you, right? Okay, so he was just telling me that this is something that he's noticing as well. It's a carbon to nitrogen problem, which is kind of what I was explaining before. But basically, these companies are selling compost that has not been fully broken down yet. So, like the wood chips and the sticks and stuff that I was complaining about previously, those are, they are organic matter, but the companies are not leaving this compost long enough to actually break down fully. And so they're kind of selling the product half baked, if you will. And he said the reason they're doing this is because these companies don't actually make more money if they allow the compost to sit for longer. They're still going to make the same amount of money off of a bag of dirt, whether they, broke it down fully for you or they, kind of half baked it and just got it out there quicker. They're going to make more money if they sell you a product that took less time to make. So, anyways, this problem has gotten worse. It is taking longer to break down. And so if the soil is, he kind of gave me some criteria. He was like, and I went over this in a previous video, my video where I took y'all to Home Depot. I was kind of complaining about like the way the dirt looked. He echoed this. He said if the soil is light brown and it's super like light feeling, it is not going to be a good growing medium. But if it is dark brown, it's dense and it's kind of more powdery, it's going to be better growing medium. And so when you're looking for your dirt, you can look for that. He did say that he encourages his people to add peat moss for water retention. And kind of the method that I had told you before, he kind of told me the science behind like why that was working for me. So he was basically saying that if you over amend the soil, you're trying to feed the microbes and the plants at the same time. And so, adding that peat moss in for water retention so that, all of the water doesn't just get flushed out of that dry bark, basically. You can try, amending your soil, like kind of just basically overdoing it with your amendments to where it looks like you're adding too much. But what he said was, a year from now, that soil will have had time to break down. It'll be perfectly fine to grow in, but you do need to keep working it. And I did want to mention that, he just kind of was telling us like, that soil would be just fine next year, but for right now, it's not looking so good or it's killing your plants. I have still been able to grow in mine. And he kind of just told me like, yeah, you probably just added a ton of amendments. And I was, well, yeah, like I overdid it because that's pretty much what it takes in new soil these days. But what he was saying was, you amend it with the hopes of having better chances next year in terms of the soil sitting for longer, actually having that time to break down over the next year and over winter. But there is things you can do, and so I mentioned those to you. But I wanted to tell you this because I have seen some of my newer garden peeps. I have seen people throwing their soil out like year after year. Like I've seen some people dumping their soil in the trash can and then getting new soil the next year. Just want to like please tell you, please do not do that. I had to tell somebody the other day, like, please don't dump your soil again. Like we worked on that. It's kind of like leaving like something to ferment and then tossing it right before you're about to be able to eat it. It's just sad. And so, if you are a newer gardener, please don't toss your soil. Keep amending your soil, and as time goes on, it will be better growing medium. So, anyways, I wanted to splice that little bit in here because that was such an enlightening conversation. I'm so grateful for his wisdom and expertise on this, and happy growing. I hope that we can fix your soil. I hope that your garden thrives this year, and have a great day.